AJ is obviously the first time we've been able to talk to you. What attracted you to Oregon State? What brought you to Oregon State?
Well, honestly, I watched some common opponents, last year, just being in the Pac-12. And I remember watching Oregon State against Washington on film. And I was really impressed with just the discipline that the offense played with. These guys are playing hard. They're running, their schemes look, really sound. And the running backs were, they had good disciplines in the run game and things like that. And, so I became a fan, even just watching them on film last year. And just the way that this thing was ran over here. And so when opportunity presented itself, it was a no-brainer for a running backs coach, man. This running backs coach heaven. This the style of offense that we run and the type of guys that we have in our room.
You've been in a few spring camps with different programs. Does Oregon State do anything differently with spring, or is it pretty much, pretty common to what everybody else does?
Everybody kind of has their uniqueness, about spring. I think just the competitiveness here, it stands out. It's good, friendly, and healthy competition. It's like every day we're playing for something. It's not like we're just going against our own team. It feels like we're going against a different opponent, but with the type of love and compassion you want to have for your teammates, not crack back blocking on each other or, bringing people to the ground, when we're not doing live periods and things like that. So I see like a good, healthy competition every day, guys celebrating after plays and all that. And those are things that really stand out. And it's just kind of a testament to the culture that's already been in place before I got here.
What did you know about Michael Petrie, and is your approach any different than his?
Yeah, I knew Coach Petrie a little bit just through passing, before this. Obviously, like I said, just watching his guys in the past on film, I was always really impressed with how disciplined they were. I would say we're very similar in the sense of we're going to develop and coach our players, each one in the room, and hold them to a high standard with just really discipline, and very fundamental approach to it. We're going to do things the right way. We're going to protect the football. So we're very similar, in that regard. We obviously have our own personalities. I haven't been around him as a coach to see, how he is in the meeting room and on the field, but just from our core qualities as a coach, as far as what we believe in, we're very similar.
Coach, just talk a little bit about when you came in and just the status of the running back room itself. Is it, one of the more, talented rooms you just kind of was able to step into right away?
Absolutely. I think the first thing that stands out when you just walk in a room is how big these guys are. We have a really big room. Guys, it's obvious they do a really good job in the off season in the weight room. Everybody can hold their own, from a weight standpoint. Everybody they look the part. And then, when you see them on film, these guys have unique skill sets. They play behind their pads, the bigger running backs. And then we have some, a good mix of speed and size in our room. And so just very impressed. Obviously, as you walk in, you want to look at a room like we have right now. It makes you feel like you can put your best foot forward. And Coach Petrie's done a great job of kind of building the room up in a way that just pass it off to me and we can stay in stride.
Did you have any connections with any of the other coaches on this team before you got hired or knew of them and their work?
I knew Coach Henson a little bit beforehand, just through passing, just in recruiting and some different like Zoom calls and things like that. But overall, didn't know many guys on the staff before I got here. But he's the one that was, I had some familiarity with. We talked a few times in passing. Had his number in my phone. And so we texted back and forth a few times, but he would be the only one.
Were you a part of that? Were you a part of that that Zoom group over the summer with him and Zoe from San Jose State?
Yes. Yep. That's where we initially met each other. Through that, we both spoke a few times throughout the course of last season, and I sat on some of his talks. He sat on a couple of mine, I believe, and we just kind of exchanged information and had a profound respect for him and some of the things that he was teaching. And like I said, I just already had a respect for what Oregon State was doing in general, just from afar, and then just seeing him and knowing him a little bit, just kind of doubled down on that.
One of the things Fens talked about with that particular, the purpose of putting those things together was also to kind of alert other coaches, that, you guys were out there and to build a network and build that grouping of support among Black coaches in college football. Does this feel like, when you got that call from Coach Smith and started going through this process, did it feel like, okay, like that's why those things were put together and that was kind of working in the way that was intended by Fence and Zoe when they started it?
I believe so. I believe, the big thing is just, it's not even necessarily about, Black coaches or, Hispanic coaches, white coach, whatever nationality is. It's just, if you're a good quality coach, I think you deserve opportunities, and so I think that's really the message, is that if you're a Hispanic coach and you're good enough to coach at Oregon State, then you should have an opportunity. You should be able to be pushed forward, by people and looked at. And so I feel that same way, obviously, as an African-American coach. If I, bring the right things to the table, I think I should be considered, for the job. And that happened here. I'm grateful for that. And so, yeah, I think the answer is yes, but I think mainly it's about just taking care of your business and just having the opportunities afforded you because you're a great coach, but then also not being any opportunities being hindered just because of your skin color at the same time.
What is that balance like, kind of coming in here with a running back room that, like you said, has had a lot of recent success, and trying to kind of implement your own imprint without trying to upset too much of what they've done? How do you go about that?
I think just looking for things that can be cleaned up. The good thing about running backs is you can never like master being a running back. There's always some part of your game that can be cleaned up. Whether you're a really good guy with the ball in your hand, but you're not great in pass pro, or you're good in pass pro, but your eyes are all over the place in the run game, and we need to work on catching the football and different things like that. And so there's never a running back who's perfect at all three phases, really. And so it's just a consistent, push forward to master different techniques. And once you've mastered one facet of the game, then let's move forward and try to clean your game up and make you an every down running back.
Coach, this is Deshaun's. Oh, go ahead, Jared.
I was going to say, I wanted to ask about Deshaun Fenwick a little bit. I know it's been kind of limited sample size of you working with him, but what have you seen out of him so far?
I think just his football IQ is probably the thing that stands out first and foremost. His understanding of what we're trying to get accomplished, knows the playbook, like the back of his hand. You would have thought he's been here for, a few years already with his understanding of playbook. Just his work ethic and his attention to detail. Every day he just comes to work, trying to figure out how he can clean his game up and take the next step forward. And so I think, that's a really good recipe for success moving forward. So we just got to keep him working and stay the course. But very pleased with what I see from him up to this point.
Brandon, when you looked at your film from last season, what was your analysis of the way you played?
That I got a lot to improve on, both run and pass. I obviously have really high hopes and high goals for myself. And in order to achieve those goals, I got to meet some very high standards that I've set for myself. So obviously cleaning up a lot of things in pass protection, communication across the board, getting lower, playing more leverage in the run game, really improving all facets of the game.
I hate to use this cliche, but the chip on your shoulder deal, you weren't recognized on any of the all Pac-12 teams. I know you've got a lot of goals. Did that sting a little bit, and is that something you carry into this season?
I play offensive line. You played offensive line as long as I have. You learn to play for yourself, play for your own goals. Recognition is cool in anything, but at the same time, it's fleeting. It won't last forever. People are going to remember you for a short period of time, and they're going to forget about you real quickly. So in order for me to reach the goals I have, I got to achieve what I want, what my standards, the expectations I set for myself. So, it always stings, but at the same time, it stings because I know what I needed to improve on. I know what areas of my game that weren't up to my standards. That's the reason it hurts, not necessarily because I didn't make a list here or a list there. Lists are what? They're a bunch of words on paper. So, no, that didn't sting, but not meeting the standards and expectations I have set for myself, that stinged.
What could you kind of describe what those standards and expectations are? What does that look like for you?
Playing up to my expectations of myself, playing high level football across the board, run, pass, playing well with my teammates, showing up in clutch positions for my team, being an anchor. I mean, that's what the expectation I have for myself is being an anchor for this offensive line. I mean, I'm obviously one of the older guys now. I'm not a young guy anymore. So, I mean, every game I got to show up and I got to set that bar. I got to set that expectation for the entire team, for the entire offense. It's not just about being there and getting my job done. It's about being there and showing the rest of the team what it means to get the job done, what it means to show up in those clutch positions, clutch times.
Do you still feel like you need to be the per se kind of leader of that group now that it's a lot more veteran group than it was last year?
Leaders are Coach M. He's always great about this. He says he doesn't need leaders; he needs motivators. And I take that to heart. I don't think I need to be a leader. I think, like you just said, we have a little more veteran group now, but I do think I need to be a motivator. I think that Noose needs to be a motivator. I think Nate needs to be a motivator. I think that's what our job is: show up and motivate not only each other, but all the younger guys, and then not only the offensive line, but the rest of the team. Motivate the team to get better each and every day. Motivate the defensive line to improve each day. I think that's really the biggest job we have as the veterans now on this offensive line, is just to motivate everybody else around us.
Brett, this is about as veteran of a line as there is in the Pac-12 going into next season. What is the next step for you guys as a unit?
I think it's always hard to like set real standards and expectations for an offensive lineman. I mean, what are you going to say? Like, have no sacks? I mean, I'll be honest, it's probably not going to happen. There'll be a sack next year. It's football. Stuff happens. But I think the real expectation for us as an offensive line is to get this offense to be the best offense in Pac-12. I think it's very achievable. In order for us to meet the expectations we have for ourselves, it's get the offense to be the best it can possibly be. I think that goes hand in hand with getting the defense to be the best defense in the Pac-12, getting our D-line, giving them the best looks every day, making them the best they could possibly be. I think the real standard for any offensive line is the quality of the team surrounding them. So I think if we want to meet our expectations, if we want to be the best offensive line, and I use that term very widely, the best offensive line in the Pac-12, I think we need to have the best offense. We need to have the best team in the Pac-12.
Deshaun, we have obviously had a chance to talk to you since you've been at Oregon State. Just for starters, why did you pick Oregon State?
I picked Oregon State because I like the coaching staff. I like the culture we're trying to set here, and I could see us winning a lot of games here at Research Stadium, and potentially this upcoming season being in the race for a Pac-12 championship.
How much did Jermar Jefferson leaving have an impact on your decision to come here?
It had an impact on my decision 100%. When I was talking to Coach Petrie in my recruitment, we talked about AP. We also talked about Jermar and the success they've had with this O-line, like with veterans like Kip. And it was really a no-brainer in a sense as to production that they've had in the past. And I just want to continue and, give myself a shot to the next level here.
Do you see yourself as more of a three down, primarily running back, or do you see yourself as more of kind of like a multi-purpose guy who can run and catch out of the backfield?
I consider myself to be a guy that can do everything: pass block, catch the ball, run the ball between the tackles, outside zone, deep ball, like whatever the coaches need me to do. I know I can do it, and if not, I'll work towards that to make sure it gets done.
How did Oregon State kind of get on your radar? Was it Coach Petrie reaching out to you, or how did that whole process kind of start?
Originally, I'm not gonna say the school I was gonna go to, but Coach Petrie reached out probably hours after I made my decision, and I, just recalibrated a little bit and weighed my options and determined that this was the best place for me.
What's it been like kind of settling into Corvallis so far? And it's quite a bit different than South Carolina and Florida and everything.
Oh man, Corvallis, man, it's a place where I check my ego at the door. Just a place where it's pretty peaceful out here. Just it's a difference because me being an East Coast guy, just living in the South and stuff like that, it's definitely a kind of a culture shock. But ultimately, it's pretty good. It just for me, it just gives me time to figure out what I need to do to improve myself and improve all my football skills to get to the next level.
Just curious, you and Micaiah Tongue are two guys from the SEC transferring to a Pac-12 school. How is the Pac-12 viewed in SEC country?
I'm not going to disrespect the Pac-12 like that, but it's a tough conference. And coming from the conference that I come from, we expect the Pac-12 to just throw the ball a little bit more, which isn't totally the case here at Oregon State. But like I said, I'm not going to disrespect the conference in any type of way. It's still a great conference.
Deshaun, you guys have only been practicing for a couple of weeks this spring, but Coach Steward just said it seemed like you already had the playbook kind of memorized. How smooth has this transition been for you, kind of learning the system here at Oregon State and fitting in with your teammates?
It's been pretty smooth. Like I said, football is football, and I love football. So wherever football is, we just happen to have a natural connection. And as far as the playbook, I worked hard before spring ball to learn the playbook, and now it's just starting to come together for me. But I don't fully know everything yet. Like today, I went out there and made a mistake on a run play that it just shouldn't happen. So I still got some things to learn.